Hey, everybody, it's your friend James Shaw. Trust you're doing okay. Happy Wednesday to you. We have spent several calls this month talking about mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we work in an industry that comes with all sorts of challenges, right? You're very excited when you started your business and you go through the highs and the lows, and we compare and contrast sometimes on what's going on, and yet taking care of what's going on up here is super important. We work in a business too that can come with stress and anxiety, and we want to talk about how do we work within that, and that's what we're going to do today. And I'm excited to have Mary on. Will you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Take it away.
Perfect. So my name is Mary Siems. I am in Oklahoma City, and I'm the assistant team leader in one of our offices in Oklahoma City. And I have been in real estate since 2015 in various avenues. I actually started as an executive assistant to a team and just found that I loved real estate.
And what's happened for you on this journey, I heard you on a panel at Family Reunion and
Mhm.
mentioned to my team, I said, we've got to get Mary on to talk about this because um, you are passionate about helping people understand anxiety and how to work through it and with it and still succeed in their business with all the stress and anxiety that might come from it. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Um, you self-admit that you are someone that can be anxious. How did
Yep.
you figure that out, and what steps did you take?
It has been quite the journey. I will say that it's something that um, back probably since I was a little kid, honestly, my mom would say, "Yeah, you're anxious," but it really came to a head. I was actually in a previous life, I was in medical school. So I was always an achiever, always high performer. And with that tends to come some anxiety. And so I was in medical school and actually my second year studying for boards, and all of a sudden just had this huge life moment that this is not what I want to do. I was literally having to be medicated to take tests, and had basically a panic attack in the middle of studying for one of my tests. And I was like, I just can't do this. And so that started my journey of really coming to understand that it was like a real physical thing. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm an anxious person, but I had actual physical reaction to things. And so that was previous. Then I was like, I've got to make a career change. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life where I'm going to be in a super high pressure environment. And so I just took the first job that a friend was had, and really had to find a job that felt like it would work more with my personality and strengths. And so through a lot of therapy and a lot of self-discovery and personal growth stuff, I just realized that it's just part of me. It's what makes me great at a lot of things. And it's also something that I think I'm kind of glad because it's given me a platform to use to be able to help other people too.
All right, so I'm glad that you are. You decide to quit medical school because the anxiety is just too much and it wasn't healthy for you. But you come
Right.
to real estate, which is full of anxiety and stressors and challenges. And so I find this really interesting. We can learn a lot from you about your journey on how to help. So, look, real estate transactions can be very high stress. Building this business and running it can be high stress. So, what have you done to kind of manage that? Because anxiety doesn't go away just by changing careers.
No, I thought it would. That was a real trick that I guess I just ended up here, and I thought this would be an easy career. Because though the realization was that I can put systems in place so that, on the days when I am high anxiety, I know that my systems are running the business. I know that there are things in place that mean I don't have to be at 100% every single day to ensure that the business keeps running. And so that's really where I realized that anxiety was actually my this unlock for me in my career. So real estate is stressful. I learned that, and I thought being an assistant and transaction coordinator when I first started would have been like the world's easiest job, and then I realized, oh, it's not. You still have to be on. You still have to do business. And so it came down to systems and processes and what can you put in place for the days that you wake up and it's a bad mental health day. That's at my core. Like everything that I do to be able to be successful in this stressful environment comes back to, well, I know that there are things that are going to continue running the business when I'm not at 100%.
Somebody once told me that anxiety comes from uncertainty, so that when we don't know the direction something's going to go, or we don't know what it is we're supposed to do, that's when anxiety can creep in. Would you agree with that?
100%. It's everything. I'm in control. I think it's a desire for control. And so probably systems and processes is my attempt at control for these uncertainty that I feel a lot of times internally.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that if it comes from uncertainty, then yes, the solution would be implement systems, put strategies and plans in place to be able to help you. But that doesn't mean that we're always going to go according to plan, right? In this business, every single person watching knows that stuff happens sometimes. When we enter one of those moments that we thought we prepared for, and yet it's not going the way we thought it would, what's some of your advice about how to handle the anxiety and stress that may come from that?
Almost everything, the answer is take a deep breath first. Like, don't react. You can feel your feelings. You might be internally spiraling. If it's a tough transaction, or even I think a lot of times the anxiety comes with other agent interaction where you feel like they're being a bully, or maybe other things that are outside of your control. And you're like, okay, what do I need to do? Well, when it starts to spiral, you've got to come to your calm. You've got to come to your kind of like set point. So I have kind of like anchors. And at the end of the day, I also know that, okay, a year from now, is this going to matter? 5 years from now, is this going to matter? Most of the time, the answer is no. And then you move yourself out of an emotional state and come back to logic and come back to what's our end goal? What do we need to do, in the next 30 minutes? And guess what? If you need to take a break and go and just like sensory deprivation for a little bit or whatever it is to make you get back to your calm. For me, it can be going for a walk. It's just breaking the pattern of whatever the environment was that caused that anxiety. That you can come back to a sense of like normalcy, if you want to call it that. But you just have to find a way to come back to your like home base so that you can get back on track.
It seems part of it might be just normalizing the fact that anxiety is part of our world and part of our life, and there might be people that are more prone to anxiety than others, and yet it's something we all experience. Is that part of the deal, just to admit that there's going to be times that we're anxious, concerned, nervous, on edge, whatever?
That's normal. Yes, yes, yes. If I could like wave a magic wand and let everybody feel that their feelings are normal and that they're not alone, I think that there is like this just expectation in society that everybody has it all together. I know that for me, honestly, that's common, and by no means am I perfect, but there's a lot of times people had no idea. It's like this secret that a lot of times the most anxious people or the people that are struggling mentally are the ones that appear on the outside like they have it all together because you're putting so much effort to externally. You can't let people in on the secret that I am having a tough day. This is not good. But the truth is, I think even there's some statistics out there that almost every like 25, maybe even 50% of people at some point have some sort of anxiety or mental health episode, something that is a lot more common than we think it is. Like there's just this bias where we think we're the only ones that are dealing with that. And that's just a lie. In the moment that you can start to accept that you're not alone, that this is normal, that's when you can start making strides towards hitting your goals or feeling like you are allowed to be successful. You're allowed to keep moving forward and that your anxiety isn't going to stop you from being who you want to be.
That's great advice. Okay, so once we admit that and make the decision that the anxiety does not define me and that I can succeed in spite of it, what are some tools? What are some strategies? What are some resources someone might use that would be of value to help them?
hmm Your morning routine. This is something that people preach all the time, but it's true. I think the more you hear something, the more likely it is to be real. You have to fill your cup before you start the day. You have to have your anchors, whatever your activities are that allow you to show up as your best self. So for me, that is, I've got to have some silence and I've got to have some just almost like free brain, jot down all of the thoughts in my head so that I'm ready to enter like a productive state. You can't, if you're just waking up, rolling out of bed, and expecting yourself to be ready to go and enter the day, you're setting yourself up for failure from the beginning. So, morning routine, exercise, drink water, all of those things that we know we should do, you really should do those. I can kind of track based on if my schedule gets out of whack. I know that I'm gonna be feeling that and I'm not gonna be my best self those weeks. And I'm like, oh yeah, my nutrition has been way off, or I have not moved my body this week. It really does play a huge role in all of that. So absolutely some sort of routine, community. I think that's the second piece of this. Whenever I went through a really tough time, in that kind of break of quarter life crisis, I quit school. I found that community and just having some people that I knew that I could show up for was huge for me to be able to like just get out of my own head. So people that are your safe space kind of people, that's important. That could be this online community could be that for some people, but something that is a consistent piece in your life. And I found that by creating community. I like to do events with people that are, where we can normalize some of this stuff and talk about it. So, morning routine, community, meditating, journaling, those are all things you can work into your morning routine. I mean, the science backs it that meditation is so important for our brains. Um, and then I think probably one of the most important can sometimes be medication. I have been on different medications on and off since I was 18, and it's been different seasons of my life. I had to take a beta blocker, which literally would slow my heart rate whenever I was taking tests for med school. I didn't want to do that forever, but for the time being, that was the right solution. I'm blessed. My mom's a doctor, so it was really easy for me to have that conversation with her, and she normalized that a lot. And I think sometimes there's a little bit of pride or fear around having to go this traditional medication route, but sometimes that's what you need in a season, and that's okay.
Partner with your health professional to help you know what's the right thing for you. If medication's for you, then they'll advise you on that.
Yeah.
A lot of the other stuff you can just do on your own. And I love that you mentioned two things, right? Morning routine and community.
Yep.
Okay, so you're inside Pivot Shift Ahead right now. So the Pivot Shift Ahead is about being in a community, and it's all about morning routine.
Yep.
When I started the group, right? I started this entire Facebook group March 16th of 2020. So you just go into your DeLorean back to then, and we knew that there was uncertainty. Everyone was anxious. Everyone was on edge. And I said, well, I wanted to start the day right. So we created this morning call. It's at 7 o'clock your time in Oklahoma City, 8 o'clock Eastern. And here it is over 3 years later, we're still doing it. There are people that will tell you, I have people come up and tell me all the time, I couldn't have gotten through it without the community. I couldn't have gotten through the beginning of the pandemic without the daily call. And now we still have about 3,000 people that are on it every day. So that's an example of how a community is helping people. And it doesn't have to be this one, but finding community, getting in a morning routine is a key piece to that. So I
Yeah.
love that. Um, Sometimes, I guess I'll just say it, the people who we love working with also help induce some anxiety for us, our clients.
True.
You're all passionate, right? Everybody you work with in your market center is passionate about helping their buyers and sellers. You are passionate in helping the agents in the market center. And yet there are times that we get a little stressed out. How do we set boundaries with the people that we work with so we don't run into that frequently?
Boundaries are tough. I think there's probably a master class in boundaries out there, and if there's not, somebody needs to create one. Boundaries, I think it's at the end of the day, it's kind of your standards. It's what are you tolerating, and so setting boundaries with your clients, it's all about expectations. So if for you, it's so important that you have time with your family as a reset time in the evenings, the more that you can set that up front, or set a system for every time you do a buyer or listing consult, you tell them these are the hours that I'm available, or you set the stage. And maybe even I like to use humor as kind of a way of diffusing or talking about this, just because it's easier. And you can say, you just can make it easy for you. So if it's something like, on those, this is gonna be a really stressful time for you, I promise I'm not gonna, you know that, just come with whatever it is that feels right for you. That's a great way to role play with expectation setting. But I think we don't want to tell people no. And honestly, when you tell people no and you don't set the boundary and you say yes to something you don't want to do, your rubber band is getting so frayed and so stretched that you're not going to provide good service. So if you just set that up from the beginning, maybe if that's your office hours, if that's the way that you want to be communicated to, I know you've all gotten the clients that are sending you properties like link after link after link at like 11 p.m., 12 p.m., maybe even 3 a.m. if they wake up in the middle of the night and they're just like scrolling through Zillow. You don't want that. So A, turn on do not disturb, and B, just set the expectation from the beginning that this is the way that you communicate and how to have a successful working relationship.
Well, if you do that, first of all, your family's gonna be happier because 'cause you'll spend more time with them. We
Yes.
also in addition to our own anxiety, our clients have it too. Buying and selling homes are emotional times. There's uncertainty associated with that. So, by setting boundaries, you might even in some way remove some anxiety from them of, "Okay, I know that Mary's gonna check in with me every Tuesday at 10 a.m. to tell me what's going on with my house. I know that, okay, so Mary told me that we've written the offer, and as soon as we get an answer, she's going to call me back and let me know." Like if we can just reassure throughout the process of some of our systems and teach
Okay.
them to our clients, that removes anxiety for both of us, right?
100%. One example, we implemented Friday updates for all of our active listings when I worked on the team. This is allows you to know that every Friday you got to go and look at the listing, collect the feedback, kind of do an updated CMA, and then your seller knows that they're going to get that updated information every Friday. They're not going into the weekend wondering what's going on. Why is the house not selling? That was probably the best system we implemented that removed anxiety on both the agent part and the seller because you've both done your job. Now you're not worried. Are they going to call me and want all this stuff when I'm not ready to have that phone call? You've already done the work up front. So that system, 10 out of 10.
Really smart. If somebody's watching this and they go, "All right, I got it. I can feel that I've got, some anxiety and stress and whatever." What are some steps they can take as soon as we're done that could help them right away?
I think start small. Don't feel like you have to get everything worked out like literally today. A small, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with habit stacking, but this term where you add on one little thing after, stack, like maybe your first habit is the first thing you do when you wake up is you drink a glass of water. Okay, do that for a week. Next, you journal after you drink your glass of water, but adding all of these things. So I think tomorrow literally pick your one new piece of your morning routine or one anchor that you're going to start. Could be as simple as making your bed. I think it's those little actions that make you feel like you are moving forward can help just give you a sense of that's all I needed to do today. All I needed to do was make my bed. All I needed to do was wake up and drink a glass of water. And over time, you'll find that those small things become really big things.
And just remember that you aren't the only one.
Yeah.
Right, that this is something that a lot of people, well, again, I would argue every single person experiences anxiety at
Yes.
some point. Anytime there's uncertainty, you're gonna experience it. Now you've gotta decide, is it something that's keeping you from accomplishing things you should be able to accomplish? And that's where you wanna get a professional to help you. But just first know that it's common. This is something we
Mhm.
all experience, and reframing how we look at it has gotta be super important, yes?
Yes, 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 yes. You guys are not alone. I just want people to know that you're not alone, and there are resources, and it could be as simple as I'm going to set an appointment to talk to a therapist. It could be I'm going to talk to a friend about this. Just being open and normalizing it. I hope that you all feel that today. That it's okay to feel the way you feel, and that you're not alone.
Yeah, I hope so too. Any final thoughts, anything else you wanna share with everybody before we kick it?
No, I think we covered just about everything.
Well, I appreciate what you offered. Thank you for what you're doing for our community here in Keller Williams to help them. Thanks for you helping your agents in Oklahoma City as well. And I just appreciate you being on. And for those of you watching, I appreciate you watching. Mary gave you some great resources to think about, some great tools to consider. And it's totally okay to want to talk to someone and go deeper to see if this is something you need additional support with. Mary, thanks for being on. We appreciate you. We'll see everybody next time. Have a good one.
James.
Bye bye.